Hi. Are you a desperate Uber driver? Me too. Me too. I've got some advice, and I want to talk about economics and a lot more things. Let's jump into it. Hi, my name is Levi. This is the Daily Drive. Now, being desperate. Let me first tell you, it's okay to be desperate. In fact, there are times in our lives, each and every one of us are desperate for a lot of things. And when it comes to being an Uber, Lyft, rideshare driver doing DoorDash gig work, sometimes being desperate brought us to this gig. Let me give you some examples. Just one example. You have a bill to pay, and your current job doesn't cover that bill. There's nothing you can do. You're desperate. You need to pay that bill, whatever it is. It could be $10,000 for credit card bills or $100 every week or whatever it is. You're desperate because whatever you're doing in your current job, whatever that is not covering it. So you become an Uber driver and you're desperate. You're like, I got a car. I can figure this out. And you get in the gig and you're desperate to pay that bill. That's okay. That's logical. It's reasonable. So why am I even talking about this? Because sometimes I'm desperate. Sometimes I feel desperate every single day as an Uber driver. Um, I think there's a lot of advice that's well-meaning from my fellow Uber, Lyft, gig worker drivers that will say, don't be desperate. Do Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, whatever, their way. They want to give you advice. They want to help you make more money. And I think, again, it's coming from a well-meaning, good-intentioned place. But they're not addressing the root cause of the desperation. And in fact, it comes across sometimes a little bit demeaning, belittling when they say we're desperate. Because again, when I first started doing it, I was desperate for like $100 a week in cash, a little walking around money. And so I was desperate. And sometimes I'm desperate. I've been parked for an hour and haven't gotten a single ride. And I still need to make money. So I'm desperate. So when a driver, whoever they are, they say, don't be desperate, I think it's well meaning because they're saying the apps are taking advantage of your desperation. And I think the apps are. And I think that's a little bit wrong, but a little bit right. Let me explain myself here a little bit more. I faced this in 1999. In 1999, or maybe it was 2000. I can't remember. I was in the Middle East. I was an airman in the Air Force. And my job was to guard third country nationals, TCNs. So I was in Kuwait. I was at a military base. They gave me a M16, I want to say like 300 rounds of ammunition or something like that, some sort of absurd amount of ammunition and a flak vest and a helmet. And my job was to watch guys from Pakistan, Bangladesh, the Philippines work on my base and make sure they don't do anything fishy so we didn't get attacked. A good example is like walking in a straight line. We didn't want them pacing off steps for like mortar rounds and stuff like that. We didn't want them grabbing a tool and stabbing, an airman or something like that. And these guys were never going to do that, but it's the job. So I would watch, like, let's say 50 guys. They would fill sandbags all day. Like we'd have sandbags to protect our bunkers. And these guys, like the ones from Bangladesh, I believe, would come to the US, or not to the US. They would come to Kuwait, fill sandbags for 11 months. They would literally work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, doing work like that on our base for 11 months. Then they would go back home where their wife and children are, or whoever, their family, see them for a month, and then come back. And they would be in these horrible, horrible living conditions in Kuwait. And the Middle East is full of third country nationals doing this. So the absurdity of like a Dubai or a Qatar or a Riyadh, they have all these low wage, almost slave workers. And I remember seeing it. These guys were desperate. They needed the money, and it was the best money they could make to feed their families by doing this. Thankfully, here in America, it's not that bad, right? But was it wrong to hire them to do this? And that's kind of what we're talking about with rideshare. When Uber or Lyft or DoorDash sends out an offer for a fare, and that fare is not targeted at maybe a driver that wants to earn a certain amount, it's targeted maybe at a desperate driver. Is it right? Well, you can go both ways. You can say, no, it's not right, because you're taking advantage of that desperation. But when you're desperate and you need to pay that bill on Monday, you kind of got to do what you got to do. And when a driver gives you advice, they say, don't be desperate, don't take that low fare. They're not in your shoes. They don't have that bill that needs to get paid on Monday. And it's Sunday night and you're $50 short and all you see is $5 fares for 10 miles or whatever you feel is desperate or lowballed offer. You got to do what you got to do. And Lyft and Uber and the passenger and everybody knows somewhat that you're in that situation and they're taking advantage of it. Now, let's talk about the economics of this and the morality of this. I think in the short run, it's kind of a moral okay thing. It's okay in the short run for you to take these offers and get that bill paid because you got to do it. You can't sit around parked on your moral high ground and say, like, I'm not going to take that. That's too low for me. And then not take any rides and then come Monday morning, not pay that bill. You got to do what you got to do. And I understand it. And when a driver gives you advice and says, don't be desperate, don't do that, they're not in your shoes, right? But their advice, my advice, sometimes thinks about the long run, if that makes any sense. It's like, yeah, in the short run, don't do it. I mean, or in the short run, do it because you got to do what you got to do. But in the long run, it's better to be patient, not take the low ball offer and do something different. If that makes any sense. I'm not trying to say one's right or one's wrong or anything like that. I'm not trying to take a stance on it because I'm not in your shoes. That's why it's hard for me to say it's wrong for you to take that offer because I wouldn't take it. That's too low for me. But when you're desperate, when I'm desperate, sometimes we do what we got to do. And I understand that. So I'm not judging you. Is I guess ultimately what I'm getting at. You got to do what you got to do. You got to pay that bill. But no, in the long run, there's a better way to make money. If that makes sense. And I guess that's why I get really upset, offended when I see other Uber drivers tell other Uber drivers how to do the gig. Like, you got to do it my way. And I've been like that. I'm still like that. I'm like, here's how you got to drive to make tips. And it comes across arrogant. It comes across as if I know everything. And I just don't. You are unique. You have unique needs. You drive a car that's different than mine. You drive in a city that's different than mine. You drive at different times than me. You're a different age. You're a different gender, whatever. There's a lot of things going on. And so I think the best scenario is for you to get some advice, but take it like, what was it? A grain of salt. It's kind of like, or whatever the right metaphor is. It's kind of like, it's coming from a good place, but it may not be right for you because you got to pay that bill on Monday I got to pay that bill on Monday. And to my drivers that are giving advice, you don't know. Yeah, you know from your perspective, your experiences, and your advice is coming from a good place sometimes. But you can't go around calling other drivers things that comes across offensive. Yeah, they probably are desperate. We are desperate. Well, let's be honest. Very few of us, I might be the only exception. I would still Uber drive if I won the lottery. Most of us are Uber driving because we need to make money. And it is a low wage job. We're desperate. A lot of us are desperate. We're doing it because it's the one thing that could solve it. I got a full-time job. I don't want to have another part-time job that might schedule me. I need the flexibility and the freedom. And yeah, the hours that I Uber drive suck, but I need to make $100. I'm desperate to make that $100. I'm just going to go do it. And that's okay. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. It's just, I don't know. My heart goes out to the drivers that are desperate. Maybe it's that experience in Kuwait, seeing the desperate nature of those guys filling those sandbags. That was, it was intense. It was intense being in 120-degree heat and they're sitting there on their hands and knees just filling sandbags one at a time. And my job, I had a camelback and every 30 minutes there was a break for us because it was too hot for us to work. And those guys worked 12 hours straight. And forget about the guys cleaning the bathrooms or the honey truck. The honey truck. Well, I'll tell you about that one day. But it was hard work. And then I've been desperate. I've lost everything. I'm still not rich. So I need to work to make money. And I guess I just get a little bit not offended because I think again the drivers that are trying to give advice they're coming at it from a good place. And I think you should listen to their advice. It just comes across like condescending, arrogant, like they know best. I don't know if they do. I just don't know. I don't know if I do. So I want this channel to give advice. I just don't want it to seem like it's the only way to do it. That's it. Because I don't know you. I want, even though I want to know you, it'd be cool to be friends. Hope that helps. Hey, the reason why I created this channel is just because of that whole monologue right there. Because I felt like the rideshare world was full of drivers giving this is exactly how you have to do it, become a private driver or to do whatever. And the anti-Uber world. And I get that. I just wanted a place where drivers can connect and passengers too. I love the stories. I love the people. I love getting out there and doing it. It's one of those weird things where I know I'm in the right place at the right time. And I wanted a channel that brought joy and happiness, even in these sucky times when the apps take advantage of us and it's frustrating and I know. So I created the channel because of that. So if you're a driver in 2025, I want you to drive your way. I want you to do it the way you need to do it, whether you're desperate or you've got $1 million in the bank and you're just like, I can sit around park for all day and not take a single ride. And yeah, I showed those apps, whatever side you're on. And I love both of them. I'm cheering for you. I really, truly am. Be safe. Be happy. Bye.